Being new to DayZ can be very overwhelming, so here are 100 tips and tricks to help you find your way. Whenever you spawn on the beach, your character is always facing north. You can craft a stone knife by taking a small stone in your hands and looking at a rock. You can craft a bone knife by simply putting the bones in your hand and scrolling through the options in the bottom left of the screen. You can also craft a knife by combining a small stone with bones. You can get small stones along trail paths, train tracks, or taking a hammer to a rock. To craft a fire, you need kindling in the form of either bark, paper, rags, or a bandage. Then you need fuel in the form of firewood or short sticks. Look at the bushes around and it'll tell you what item you will get from the bush. If it's a long stick, you can break it down into short sticks. Make a hand drill by combining a piece of bark with a short stick. You can also light a fire with matches, lighter, or a flare. Matches won't light a fire if they are damp. The fastest way to light a fire is to directly light the kindling first and then add your fuel to it. Firewood burns longer and hotter than the short sticks. You can sharpen a long stick with your knife to cook your food over the fire. Even if your fire goes out, the embers stay hot and you can still cook on it. You can reignite your fire while the embers are still hot by adding more kindling to it. If you have a cooking pot, you can craft a tripod with one long stick and two short sticks to use the pan over the fire. You can get clean water from wells. You cannot drink water from streams or ponds, it will make you sick. Fill up your container and then clean it with one chlorine tablet. If you find a cooking pot, you can boil the pot on the fire to clean the water. If you've skinned an animal without gloves on, make sure to wash your hands. You can do this at any water source or with water out of a container. The unknown food will make you sick, but it will go away after a few minutes. Take a few mouthfuls, wait for the sickness icon to disappear, and repeat. Fishing is one of the best ways to source food. You can find fruit on the ground around fruit trees. Mushrooms spawn in the forests and around hay bales. You can't eat wolf or bear meat, it will make you sick. You can craft a fishing rod out of rope and a long stick. You can craft rope with 2 stacks of 6 rags, or combine your knife with some guts from another player who you just found on the floor. You can find fishing hooks, or you can craft them out of sticks and bones by combining the sticks or bones with a knife. You'll need worms to go on your fishing hook. You can dig them up with a knife to get a single worm, or use a shovel, pickaxe, or a farming hoe to dig up 3 at a time. You can fish in the ocean, streams, or ponds. Don't trust random pieces of fat that you find. They could be human, which will give you kuru. There is no cure for kuru other than a trip back to the beach. You can stealth kill zombies by crouch walking up behind them. You cannot stealth kill players. If it's raining, the zombies can't hear you as well, making stealth attacks easier. These are the quietest shoes in the game. The only military boot with the same audio profile as the sneakers is the combat boot. These are my personal favourite, offering the same protection as military boots but with the quieter audio. You can take your shoes off in a fight to make yourself quieter, but being barefoot still produces audio. Learn what it sounds like. Being barefoot will eventually give you a foot bleed. You don't need to bandage immediately. You can swap items out of your inventory into your hands silently by dragging them into the vicinity first. If you do the silent emote, it stops your character shivering if they're cold. Just like in real life, you will lose blood faster depending on what part of your body you have a bleed. Head and torso losing the most amount of blood, followed by the arms and legs, and then the feet, which you lose the least amount of blood from. A bleed will heal itself within 5 minutes, but there's a chance you will get a wound infection. A wound infection has 3 stages. To heal stage 1 of a wound infection, you need one of these items. Just one use of these will cure stage 1. Stage 2 of a wound infections means you will start to lose health. The only cure is tetracycline. Take a tetra. If that doesn't cure you first time around, wait for the pill symbol to disappear, then take another. Keep repeating this until the sickness icon goes away and you stop making grunting noises and your health stops going down. Stage 3 of a wound infection is death. You can replace lost blood with a saline bag and an IV kit. The saline bag will also increase your hydration. You can replace blood with a blood bag and an IV kit, but this requires you to have filled the bag before losing blood in the first place. You can block zombie and player attacks by raising your fists and walking backwards. You cannot block power attacks. To power attack, hold shift. Anything can be used as a weapon. Different items used as a weapon produce different damage and shock values. Zombies hit in a pattern. They hit twice, then pause. Use that pause to then get them into a stun lock with a power attack. Power attacks drain your stamina. You can dodge attacks by leaning to the side. On PC, this is with Q and E. You can find random events happening around the map, such as police events, train crashes, military convoys, and heli crashes. There are also toxic zones. On Chernarus, these are Pavlovo and Riffy, and on Livonia, they are Gleniska Airfield and Radunin. You can get the best loot from these events and gas zones. You need a full NBC suit to go into the gas zones. There are random gas strikes that can hit random towns around the map. You can craft a tripwire with a piece of metal wire and 2 short sticks. You can attach grenades, flashbangs, or claymores to the tripwire. You can also lock your explosives onto the tripwire with a pair of pliers. You can crouch walk or prone through a tripwire and it won't go off. After placing a landmine, you have 10 seconds before it is active and you can no longer run over it. You can load your gun with a single round in the chamber first before loading the magazine so you get an extra shot. Be cautious about what scopes you use on what guns. For example, if you have a sniper rifle with a scope, you don't need a PSO scope on your AK. It will block your view, make your shots inaccurate, and cause you to be even more of a potato than you normally would be, and you're more likely to lose a fight than you would otherwise. Just because there is a slot for something, it doesn't mean you have to use it. There are vehicle spawns all over the map. Cars don't always spawn with all items needed to make them work. For cars to work, you'll need a battery, a spark plug, and a radiator, along with all 4 wheels. The radiator will be need to filled with water to avoid ruining it. You can fill the radiator using a container from any water source. You can fill up any container at a gas station to fuel your car. If you remove the radiator out of a vehicle, it will drain the water out of it. The Sarka is the only vehicle with the engine in the boot. For those of you across the pond, this would be called the trunk. The Olga has a working clock, displaying the current in-game time. You can lock vehicle parts onto vehicles using a screwdriver, wrench, and a tire iron, each locking different parts onto the vehicle. You cannot lock doors to stop others from entering the vehicle. Anyone who stumbles across your vehicle, provided all the parts are present, can take it. You can repair the engine of your vehicle with a blowtorch. You can use the blowtorch to fix the body panels on the vehicles too. There are different animations from a player being unconscious or dead. Learn what these look like. It will save you during PvP. Players, while unconscious, will have their arms and legs like this, and you'll be able to see their breath. When a player is dead, they will look like this. When you send someone back to the beach while they're uncon, their body will flop into the death animation. You can get a general sense of the direction a player died from with how their body lays on the floor. A player's legs will point towards the general direction they were sent back to the beach from. A dead player's body will deteriorate, giving you a rough indication of how long their death happened. During PvP, flank wide to get the advantage over your opponent, like I did here in this clip. They held a position at my last known location. Meanwhile, I had flanked wide, wrapping around them, and came up from behind, giving me the upper hand. How you move during PvP depends entirely on the situation, but when you can flank wide, you should. It saved my life on multiple occasions and allowed me to come out on top way more times than I can count. When in a fight and you're unsure if there's more than one, do not loot immediately. This will get you sent back to the beach. Their friends can be watching their body, waiting for you to go and loot. And if you do it straight away, you just played right into their hands. If you've been watching the person for a while and you know they're alone, then generally you'd be okay. But if you're unsure, then use patience and wait out their friend. Something I've been doing for a long time now, not only to save time, but also prevent me from losing everything, is stripping my gear set off and going to loot the player and put their gear set on, so that I can sort out the loot away from the body and don't lose both gear sets. When in a fight, just briefly going back to the different animations, always make sure you double tap. You might think you've sent someone back to the beach, but the amount of times someone has knocked me uncon and I have gotten up and won the fight all because they didn't double tap to make sure that I was actually back at the beach is wild. I've done it too, and still do sometimes. It's easy to mistake an animation in the heat of the moment, so when you can, always double tap until you see the death animation. You can repair tents with sewing kits. You can boil dirty water from ponds or streams in a glass bottle on the cooking slot on a fire. If you get a broken leg, you can craft a splint with 2 short sticks and either 4 rags, a bandage, or duct tape. You can repair the cooking pot with a blowtorch. If any item in the game is ruined, you cannot repair it. If an item of your clothing gets ruined, once you remove it, you can no longer put it back on. You can fix helmets with epoxy putty, and you can fix armor with epoxy putty or leather kits. If you're wearing armor and it gets damaged while repairing it, do not take it off your body. Instead, put the item needed to repair it in your hands and drag the armor to the repair item in your hands. This keeps the armor on your character and still provides you with its protection. You can silently cut up a fish by putting the fish in your hands and dragging the knife to it. There are still hundreds more tips and tricks to learn as a new player in DayZ. So if you have any questions or any of your own tips and tricks you've discovered while playing, feel free to share them in the comments below. Thank you for watching.